Okay, we're on Maasrot, Perik Aleph, Mishnah Chet. Last Mishnah in the first chapter of Maasrot. We're continuing to discuss when is something considered gmar melachah, so then you can no longer eat from it achilat arai without taking off trumot in Maasrot. Says the Mishnah, igul is an igul shel dveila. Actually, the Bartadura's version is igul shel dveila. It's a round of dveila, of dried figs. We've seen this many, many times before. It's a pressed dried figs into a sort of like cake. And that's how they would preserve it. They would dry the figs out, and then they would press them. And then they would slice it and serve it over time. Okay, so, mi she yachalikenu. Yachalikenu when it's chalak, when it's smooth. But how would they do it? Says the Bartanura. Megilin lachlik panav b'mashkin. They would smooth it over with some kind of liquid. With v'hu gmar melachto l'maaser. And that's the gmar melachah. That's the finishing of the igul for the purposes of maaser. Okay, what they would do basically, they would glaze it, and then that would preserve it in some way, that would sweeten it, maybe it would prevent the bugs from getting on it, whatever, that's how they would do it. Okay, so therefore, until you do this chalikah, until you do the glazing with the juice, as we'll soon see, then it's considered arai, and you can eat from it, it's not considered gmar malacha. Machlikin b'te'inim u'ba'anavim shel teva. So now the Mishnah throws in a side halacha, that a person can take fruits of teva. What they would do is they would smear it. They would smear it with the fruit, and then the juice would smear out, and that would glaze the dried figs, the igul shel dveila, the cake. It's not a real cake; it's not cooked; it's just pressed together. So you can use te'inim, figs, and grapes of tevel. Rabbi Yehuda oser. Rabbi Yehuda prohibits it. What's the machloket? So the Bartanura says, lo chashive. It's not considered important. Kevan da'azle liibud. Okay, you don't worry. Okay, that they're going to. It's not considered a problem. Oh, chashuv, since they're going to be lost. So therefore, it's not like you're considering that you're ma'abed tevel, that you're causing tevel to be lost. Rabbi Yehuda oser, Rabbi Yehuda prohibits it. Why? He says the mashkim chashuvim him. No, they are chashuv. It is significant. V'asurim mishum tevel, and you're not allowed to cause tevel to be lost. So it's a very interesting question because according to the Tanna Kama, the juice inside is not significant enough to worry about, since it's going it's glazing and it's going into the crevices of the igul dveilan. Rabbi Yehuda says they are considered chashuvim, but obviously you can't throw the fruits away that were left. You'd have to take off shumot and give them to the kohen. The Mishnah continues another side idea about this glazing. Hamachlik ba'anavim lo huchshar. Is it muchshar lekabel tuma if I do this chalukah, if I do this glazing with grapes, with grape juice? Normally wine is considered one of the 7 liquids. We've learned this before in the end of Trumot. But here the Mishnah says, the Tanna Kama says, lo uchshar. It's not considered muchshar lekabel tuma. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda says it is muchshar lekabel tuma. What's interesting question is, let's see what the reason is. Lo chashiv mashke ze hayotze miha anavim. Okay, it's not considered a mashke, that which comes out of the anavim. It's a very interesting question. If I take food and squeeze it for the liquid in order to use it for food, is that considered liquid or not? We're going to see this question again in Hilchot Shabbat in the halacha of disha. You might have heard this once. There's an issue of lemons. So grapes and it's definitely grapes and olives, right? Grapes and olives are two. We saw this actually at the end of Trumot also. Are the two species or the two kinds of produce that if I squeeze them, it's asur disha midoraita according to Hilchot Shabbat. And we've seen how grapes and olives at the end of Trumot, there was a whole Mishnah about how those were different. Okay, the question though is the juice that comes out of a grape, not for this purpose of wine, but is the juice that comes out, if I want to squeeze it on food as a garnish, is that considered juice or is that considered food? And the ramification is, if you might have heard, like lemons, if I squeeze a lemon to pour it into water so that I can drink it, then the lemon juice is lemon juice. But if I squeeze a lemon onto fish, the halacha states that if I squeeze it onto food as a garnish, it has a din of food. And we're learning Hilchot Shabbat, but here we see a ramification that hamachlik ba'anavim lo uchshar. If I squeeze grapes onto my food, it's not muchshar because it's not considered liquid. And Rabbi Yehuda says uchshar, it is considered liquid. Okay, now the Mishnah turns back away from its side discussions about whether I can squeeze out grapes or figs, etc., etc. And we go back to different halachot about when is something considered kavua, brought to the goren. Hagrogrot are dried figs. Mishe yadush. Mishe yadush means when I squeeze them into a chavit, into the barrel. That's how they would preserve them. They would preserve one of two ways. They would put them into the storage. Chavit is the jug or a jar, like a big barrel, right? Okay, when I would stick them in, dash means to push them in, then they're considered gmar melachah, and I can't eat them temporarily. Umigura mishye agel. Migura means when we would remember we said that they would press them into these cakes. So migura is a storage. That's how they would store them. They would store them, and that's how they would last a long time, either in the barrel, in the chavit, or in the igul shel dveila, as we've seen, the igul, the round. So that was another way of saying that was the migura is like the storage, mishye agel. When I put them in the round, then that's considered gmar melachah. But it says the Mishnah, haya dash bechavit ume agel b'migura. I'm trying to store it in one of these two ways, either in the chavit, in the barrel, in the jug. I gotta look that up. Jug, chavit is a jug, or ma'agel b'migura. Nishbara chavit v'niftecha migura. I'm in the middle of pressing it, and while I'm pushing it in, the pressure, the chavit breaks, the jug breaks, or the migura, the round, the igul, it opens up, whatever. I'm in the middle of doing it, it breaks, so I have to repack. The question is, now that I have to repack, was the previous packing that I've done gmar melachah? Or I can say, well, I missed it, and then I can start. Now I can eat arai until as long as I have to pack it again. Says the Mishnah, lo yochal mehem arai. In this case, I cannot eat arai according to the Tanakama, because once I started packing, that's considered gmar melachah. Rabbi Yossi matir. Rabbi Yossi says, no, it's not considered gmar melachah until I'm done. Only when I'm finished is that gmar melachah, so I can eat arai until I complete the job. Okay, the Kati says the halacha is lo Rabbi Yehuda and lo Rabbi Yossi. Who is it like? The Kati says it's lo Rabbi Yehuda bereisha. We pass it like the Tanakama in the reisha of machlik b'anavim, and it's not like Rabbi Yossi in the sefer. We pass it like the Tanakama. Okay, that once you start packing, it's considered gmar melachah for even if the barrel breaks afterwards. I'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, as always, email me at rspoter@gmail.com. I would dedicate the learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a good day.